Thank you very much to the Ailey Tunes dance company for doing that. That was amazing. Maybe another round of applause. It's my honor to speak to y'all tonight, and thank you to everyone who was able to make it. My name is Jeff Holzberg. I am the current site coordinator in the Bronx office of NSP. And I won't speak long because I do want to let Valerie, who is our client speaker for the night, say some words. But I would like to share a little of my story with you tonight, how I came to find NSP and what my experience with NSP has been like over the past 2 years. I'm originally from Atlanta and moved up to Boston for college to attend Tufts University. And right from the start, due to my strong rapport for science and my weak affinity for English classes, I found myself pre-med, which is the direction I thought I'd be when I first entered Tufts. However, I quickly found myself swarmed with competitive pre-medical students who didn't see much beyond Tufts, beyond the coffee shops that we studied at and the bars that we went to. And the communities that Tufts bordered didn't really interest these students, and helping the communities only really appealed to the community health, sociology, and peace and justice majors. And that really bothered me. And throughout college, I always kind of felt like there was something more, that there was something more to being pre-med, and that it wasn't the community health majors who kind of had the right to do all the volunteering. And I think that kind of view, I think my kind of view of medicine and the purpose of medicine and being pre-med was different than my other chem and bio students. And as I saw kind of more of the perspective of caring for health rather than just kind of treating disease. And I loved medicine, and I wanted to be a doctor for a long time, and I think the reason I wanted to become a doctor is because I love meeting with patients. I love hearing their stories, and I love discussing with them the options to change their lifestyles to accommodate to their health needs. And that's what really excited me. And I wanted to be a doctor because I saw the unique perspective that of the role that doctors had to affect the health of the patient, which is not prescribing medications and medicines, but it's really talking about what lifestyle is causing their pain and what other determinants are affecting their health, and then working through that. It took me until senior year of college to find out that I didn't have to wait until medical school to begin to affect the health and overall well-being of those who needed it. I was convinced to join NSP as a senior by a friend who's actually here tonight, which is Jen Bokoff. How Jen knew I would like NSP like I did, I don't know. But it was exactly the type of program I was looking for. It was direct service with a training component that taught me how societal factors affected the health of our clients. NSP kind of scratched me where I itched, and as a volunteer, it challenged me to look at the issues differently. It challenged me to actually make some real changes in people's lives that were struggling, and allowed me to view my future as a physician much clearer. Even more, at Tufts, I learned I was personally able to work with the community outside of Tufts while I was a college student. And with no experience in the social service world, I learned that enthusiasm, trust, and motivation to help was enough to really create some positive change with my clients. And so when graduation came along, and my pre-med friends were going out and getting jobs in chemistry labs and shadowing doctors, I went to work in a field that had people asking, what does that have to do with medicine? How is that going to help you with medical school? And what I have to say is that working at the NSP Bronx office has prepared me incredibly well for medical school and has provided the grounding and training I need, not just to be a doctor, but rather be a social servant to the community. The experience as a site coordinator in the Bronx has really been shocking, and I've seen some startling findings and heard some hard stories that have shaken me up. Disparity is ripe in New York City, all over the board, and who has access to housing, who gets hired for jobs, who gets arrested and placed in jail, and who makes up the large population receiving public assistance. And in some ways, I believe it's not much disparity as it is discrimination. And it's discrimination against the lower class, it's discrimination against the uneducated, and it's discrimination against non-whites. And one story I'd like to briefly share with you is that of Andrea, a client of mine who might be here tonight. I'm not sure. She's a mother of 3 children, and Andrea went to the College of New Rochelle and worked as a nurse's assistant. But in early 2007, she found that she could not afford the rent she was paying in the Bronx. As a result, her and her kids were evicted from her apartment in February of 2007 and wound up going into the shelter system. There with her 3 kids, she was moved around between countless shelters, but was in the system long enough to qualify for what's called the Work Advantage Program, which is a housing subsidy for people in the shelter who work, and it rewards savings. And so when she got the subsidy, she came to NSP to try to find housing. And even with that lucky subsidy, it was still a pain for Andrea and for us to find an apartment, as she ran into numerous landlords who were racist and insulting, one of whom had the perfect apartment but only wanted tenants from the Dominican Republic. After calling up 311 and other tenants' rights organizations, we and they spoke directly with the landlord and eventually worked it out. Andrea was able to move into her apartment in December of 2007 and showed the kids the apartment as their Christmas present. A case like Andrea's is inspirational, but it's really indicative of the numerous hoops and barriers and ladders you have to go through before you can receive assistance or get housing, something I learned a lot about while I was site coordinator in the Bronx. Andrea was amazing, though, in her ability to stay strong and fight for her own rights and for her family. And as a future physician, it shows me the power that the individual has to affect their own health and change the health of their family if given the knowledge and resources. Stories like Andrea's and other clients help me to understand that a client's cardiovascular problem, for example, can't be treated by lowering cholesterol levels, but rather needs to be viewed from the angle that unstable housing, lack of employment, and maybe even working too many hours leads to an insufficient diet, stress, and thus the high cholesterol. So it is these situations and systems that need to be understood and ameliorated if the disease is to be prevented. It is this sort of revelation and train of thought that I will bring with me into the future. These social determinants of health are what drove me to NSP and what will motivate me to travel to India next year to do public health and medical research in an entirely different community. They will also be with me when I become a physician. So overall, working with NSP has been an incredible experience because I felt trusted. Not because of how many degrees I have or because I graduated from high school, but because I, like all of the NSP volunteers and staff, simply care. And my empathy for this type of work translated into responsibility that I would not be given at many other places. And it's empowered me and other people to learn about the social service world and community which we live in. Thus, we are then given the opportunity to decide how we'd like to affect that community. So thank you very much to NSP and the Bronx community for teaching me these valuable lessons. I want to take this opportunity now to introduce Valerie, who is someone who's taught me the importance of a strong family and a good education to future stability. Faced with many difficulties over the past couple of years, Valerie's been able to raise 4 children very well, 2 of which are here tonight, and keep them safe and healthy and keep them in school. Valerie is exemplary in her commitment to the young and to education, working in the school that her kids attend and working directly with students with special needs. Over the past 7 to 8 months of working with Val, I've learned a lot about myself, whether it's simply being able to laugh loudly when things aren't going so well, or getting on the phone and persistently calling people to advocate for myself, and at times even yelling. So without further ado, it's my honor to introduce Valerie Lopez.